This is what happens when you do not build up the United States military and muscle up our diplomacy. If you're going to appease, if you're going to sell out, this is what it looks like. And you actually think you're making progress and success by appeasing the enemy. And incidentally, the enemy, Communist China, has said it's not going to improve its relations with our military. The Biden administration is now selling out to Communist China in a big way. And just to underscore their sellout, they send this guy Blinken, who is pathetic, to deal with Jinping and his sidekick. And he's very proud because he's announced that we don't support Taiwan's independence. How about you keep your mouth shut? And of course, if China is commercially vibrant, that's good for the world. No, it isn't. Can you imagine Ronald Reagan saying that about the old Soviet Union? You know, if the Soviet Union is vibrant, that's good for the world. Let me tell you, we're going to listen to a little bit of this fool in a second, but this is what happens when you do not build up the United States military and muscle up our diplomacy. If you're going to appease, if you're going to sell out, this is what it looks like. And you actually think you're making progress and success by appeasing the enemy. And incidentally, the enemy, Communist China, has said it's not going to improve its relations with our military. So we actually have the State Department and the diplomatic side and the White House claiming they're on pretty good terms now with Xi and China, but we're not talking to the Pentagon. These guys have got to be laughing. They've got to be saying, God. Of course, they don't believe in God. Marx. They must be saying, how lucky could we be? And I say, how disgusting is all this? Let's take a look at this. Go ahead.
Here in Beijing, I had an important conversation with President Xi Jinping.
So stop. This guy's entire presence shows weakness, nerdiness, and desperation. Just the first half sentence. Go ahead.
And I had candid, substantive, and constructive discussions with my counterparts, Director Wang Yi and State Councilor Qin Gang. I appreciate the hospitality extended by our hosts. Meeting. I stress that direct engagement and sustained communication at senior levels is the best way to responsibly manage our differences and ensure that competition does not veer into conflict. And I heard the same from my Chinese counterparts. We both agree on the need to stabilize our relationship.
Stop. Who's destabilizing the relationship? They steal our technology. They threaten our Navy and our Air Force in international waters and international airspace. They're making it clear they want to destroy another ally of ours, first Hong Kong, now Taiwan. They're making claim to islands off the Philippines, Japan, and international waters. They've created fake islands that they have militarized to fight us. Hypersonic missiles that are intended to evade our defenses and attack American cities with nuclear warheads. Killer satellites. They have bases in our hemisphere in violation of our Monroe Doctrine. They control both ends of the Panama Canal. They have a deep water base that is for a military presence off the Solomon Islands, which we fought for during World War II. And I could go on and on and on. So he's destabilizing. And of course, who can forget the coronavirus? They came out of their lab, and more it's clear that the lab was doing this at least for military potential. Not that they intentionally released it, but the military was present at that lab. As you can imagine, it's a militaristic state, watching what was going on, among other things. Go.
During those meetings, we had a robust conversation about regional and global challenges.
So far you said nothing. What's it been, a minute? They were well treated. They had a robust discussion. They said that we ought to be able to have more discussions. Okay, great. Go ahead.
That includes Russia's war of aggression against Ukraine. I reiterated that we would welcome China playing a constructive role, along with other nations, to work toward a just peace based on the principles of the United Nations Charter.
So we want China to help us build a just peace as they're preparing for war. These are the words of a defeatist administration that is prepared to accept the United States decline, in fact, is participating in it as China moves up the feeding chain and China becomes the world's biggest superpower. This is the language, this is the body language of a defeatist administration. Go ahead.
We also spoke about North Korea's increasingly reckless actions and rhetoric. All members of the international community have an interest in encouraging the DPRK to act responsibly, to stop launching missiles.
This is so stupid. This has been going on since end of World War II, when Stalin put Un's grandfather in office. He created a Stalinist alliance, a Stalinist regime, and it hasn't given up anything. It hasn't taken its foot off the gas pedal or anything of the sort. We've appeased that family now for over half a century. We've even fed their people for a period of time in exchange for them not building nuclear weapons. We even removed all nuclear weapons from South Korea, all intended to try and persuade the North not to do what the North now has done. They have intercontinental ballistic missiles and they have nuclear weapons. We failed, both parties. And he still talks like it's going on. We talked to our friends, the Chinese, about helping us with the North Koreans. The North Koreans are as close to China as it can get. Where do you think they got this technology? At the University of North Korea? There is no university in North Korea. Go ahead.
To start engaging on its nuclear program. And China is in a unique position to press Pyongyang to engage in dialogue and to end its dangerous behavior.
So why haven't they? Why haven't they? They don't want to. Go ahead.
I raised U.S. concerns, shared by a growing number of countries, about the PRC's provocative actions in the Taiwan Strait, as well as...
I'll bet that went over well. Go ahead.
On Taiwan, I reiterated the long-standing U.S. One China policy. That policy has not changed. It's guided by the Taiwan Relations Act, the 3 joint communiques, the 6 assurances. We do not support Taiwan independence. We remain opposed to any unilateral changes to the
So why would you use that line, as I said on radio? We do not support Taiwan independence. Taiwan wants to be left alone. That's it. So to throw that line in there is the worst thing he could possibly have done. The Chinese will take that line as, when we're ready to attack. Doesn't mean the United States won't put up some kind of defense. But when somebody says something like that, it's absolutely gratuitous. And they're doing it again to try and appease the Communist Chinese. The Communist Chinese cannot be appeased. They're on a mission. They see the United States as degrading, and they've said so. And they see themselves on the rise. Xi Jinping wants to be remembered forever, as these various dynasties are, the Ming Dynasty and so forth and so on. This is their time, he believes. And he listens to this. We do not believe in Taiwan in their independence. Stupid. Go ahead.
We continue to expect the peaceful resolution of cross-strait differences. We remain committed to meeting our responsibilities under the Taiwan Relations Act, including making sure that Taiwan has the ability to defend itself.
But you're not. They purchased over $9 billion in military equipment, and we still haven't delivered it all to them. There's going to come a point where we can't deliver it all to them because the Chinese Navy is big enough to surround that island, and the Chinese Navy's large enough to do the same thing in terms of airspace. They're 90, 100 miles apart, even less, I think. It's going to become incredibly difficult for us. So that was a complete loser.
Want to see more? Sign up for Levin TV.